telecoms now, we see the sector is also facing a credibility test that goes beyond pricing or network stability. We see a federal high court there. You're telling the telcos, restore airtime and data credit services. A lot of Nigerians rely on that service, at this point. So bring it back, after it was suspended due to, regulatory issues there between the NCC and the FCCPC. We don't know who the telco should listen to at this point when it comes to airtime lending. But, that word lending, I guess it's tilting them towards the FCCPC. Let's bring in Mr. Oluwole Begunde is the Director of Market Research and Insights at Insights. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me, laddie.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine when last you actually needed to lend airtime, or data. I guess you've not had to do that, so far.
Not really.
but definitely a lot of people rely on this service.
Absolutely.
We have estimate there of the amount of Nigerians that actually rely on this service. You can put that up for me. Millions. Definitely we know the telcos have millions of subscribers, and in those millions, there's another million group there that rely on, you need emergency credits, you need airtime, about 40 to 70 million regular users, that's, for that service, about 80 to 100 million plus subscribers. So out of those, occasionally, they would, reach out for, a quick one, when you don't have money to buy airtime or data. So talk to me about what's going on, right now. I'm wondering if a court can actually tell a company, say, you know what, I want you to restore that service now. Is it possible?
Okay, let me give you a backstory.
Right.
So these millions of people, some millions in the millions,
right,
reached out to the FCCPC, sharing that they have been mistreated by the telcos as regards airtime borrowing, hidden charges, hidden fees, high interest rates, and sometimes being forcefully subscribed to borrowing that they did not want to, by telcos using tricky marketing schemes. So the FCCPC came on board and said, okay, look, let's look at this and create a regulation around it that will change that narrative. Now, in that regulation, the Dion regulation now changes airtime borrowing from just a telco purview to being loan services offered by these telcos. And that changes everything. And that's why they came on board to the FCC terrain of telecoms. Now, that changes what can be regulated and can be regulated by the NCC vis-a-vis FCCPC. Because now, supply side, now they are saying that if you want to offer airtime borrowing, there are new regulations that you have to apply by before January 5 or till now. And it was because of those new regulations that the telcos were forced to stop. Because if you did not comply to the new regulation, we included now new firms, new partnerships, like with local firms in Nigeria, you had to pay that 100 million fine, or you pay 1% of your turnover. And if you're NTN, I just declared 5.2 trillion, about 52 billion hanging in the balance for you. So that was why they stopped the services, because they are not compliant and they didn't want to breach the law as per the new regulation.
Right.
Now, also for the subscribers, you and I who subscribe for these services, the new law is saying that there are new provisions that allow us to either subscribe or can't subscribe. Before, the reason why this was a big thing was because telcos wanted to push subscriber use and retention. But now this new regulation is saying we want to risk control, risk management, who can borrow, who cannot borrow, and the frequency. So if I used to borrow 500 naira before, and I'll just wake up and to borrow 4,000, and the telco will just agree to do that. But now you can no longer do that, because you have to check, can I pay back the 4,000, and how often can I get that kind of recharge? So it is the risk control now vis-a-vis adoption and allowing the market to leverage services.
Right.
So those are the things causing the challenges between the NCC and the FCCPC.
Right. So I guess whatever service it is you're delivering, when it comes to lending, because lending is a very sensitive segment at this point, because sometimes there's a saying about the lender, the borrower being a slave to the lender. Yeah. So most of the time there's always that
friction.
Friction between them. There's either the lender is taking advantage of the borrower, stuff like that. So regulation is needed, and that's why we see the FCCPC also clamping down on digital lenders. So once you have lending, the FCCPC is out for you at this point.
Absolutely.
You need to be
compliant.
Compliant. So at this point, seeing what's played out so far, do you see the service returning? What are you expecting so far?
The service will return. I believe the service will return, but under stringent regulations now. Because before now, it used to be just, if you wanted to lend, easy. Just press the button, pump, and you get whatever you want. But they're saying now there has to be a process in checking who wants to lend, how much they want to lend, to ensure that you can actually afford what you lend and you can pay back. Now, the telcos also are now forced to also declare what the fees are in total so that I can consent. That used to happen before. It was just, I wanted 4,000, I wanted 5,000, take. Now it's no longer like that. There has to be a process in place, almost like the banks acting for collateral and the paperwork involved, although now it's just digital. So there'll be delay, of course, in borrowing, and of course there's always a clamp down who can borrow and how much they can borrow.
Okay, so definitely we have some big moves from the telcos at this point, likes of MTN Nigeria, Airtel Africa. We see for MTN Nigeria selling that. That's the MTN group is to acquire an 80% stake in the MTN Nigeria's Momo business. Airtel Africa, they're planning a big IPO for its mobile money units. That's Airtel Money. So big moves coming, and looking at the stock market yesterday, both companies were in the green, and taking the NGX higher. Well, what are you seeing here for these latest moves?
It's not surprising because mobile money has become big in Africa. It's not just a Nigerian thing. In Ghana, for example, currently the transaction value for mobile money in Ghana currently now is more than all the cash deposits across all the banks in Ghana. To Ghana. In Kenya, for example, it's a culture, mobile money in Kenya right now. M-Pesa is so large that right now, Safaricom that owns M-Pesa has more users than the Safaricom mobile subscribers. That's how big it is. So this is not surprising that's happening in Nigeria.
Right.
The trend is...
And seeing that rally, Airtel Africa hitting 3,021 naira. What an incredible market we're seeing right now. But thank you so much for helping us unpack what's playing out so far. And definitely, we're looking out for the next earnings now for the telco giants. Right now, thank you so much, Mr. Oluwole Bengude is the Director of Market Research and Insights at Insights.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Thank you.